imagine this. It's a freezing winter night, the wind howling outside like a wild beast. And instead of being safe in your warm home, you're stranded in the middle of desolate, deadly mountains. A place filled with mysteries no one can explain. That's where our story begins, and I promise you, by the end of it, you won't look at the wilderness the same way again. In the winter of 1959, 9 Russian students, all university classmates, and experienced hikers, set out on a daring adventure. Their goal was to trek through the treacherous Ural Mountains and reach the summit of a peak ominously called Dead Mountain. The name alone should have been a warning. These weren't amateurs. They were well-equipped, physically fit, and highly skilled in surviving harsh conditions. The group was led by Igor Dyatlov, a confident and capable young man who had meticulously planned the entire trip. Everything seemed to be in place for a successful expedition, or so they thought. The journey started off uneventfully. The group trekked through snow-covered terrain, documenting their progress in journals and photographs. Their spirits seemed high. They were laughing, posing for pictures, and enjoying the challenge. The last journal entry was dated January 31st, 1959. After that, nothing. The world lost contact with them. When the group failed to return as scheduled, their families and friends raised the alarm. A search party was launched, but it wasn't until weeks later that rescuers stumbled upon a scene that would haunt them forever. The search team found the group's tent first, and it immediately sent shivers down their spines. The tent had been slashed open, not from the outside, but from the inside, as if the hikers had desperately clawed their way out. Inside the tent, all their belongings were still neatly arranged. Their clothes, boots, food, and equipment. And yet, in temperatures plummeting to minus 30 degrees Celsius, the hikers had fled barefoot and half-dressed into the snow, as if escaping from something too terrifying to comprehend. The rescuers followed footprints leading away from the tent, and soon discovered the first 2 bodies. The hikers were lying near a tree, dressed in only their undergarments. The tree itself bore strange marks, as if someone had frantically tried to climb it, perhaps to escape or to see something in the darkness. Both bodies showed clear signs of hypothermia, but nothing else. As the search continued, more bodies were found. 3 of them were scattered between the tent and the tree, as if they had tried to return to the tent, but collapsed along the way. These deaths, while tragic, could still be attributed to the freezing cold. But it was the last 4 bodies, discovered weeks later in a nearby ravine, that turned the story from a tragic accident to an unsolvable nightmare. The last 4 hikers had injuries that defied explanation. One had a chest so crushed it looked like he had been hit by a speeding car, yet there were no external wounds, no bruises or cuts on the skin. Another had a fractured skull, and the most horrifying discovery was one of the women. Her tongue had been ripped out, and her eyes were missing. There were no signs of an attack, no footprints other than their own, and no evidence of an avalanche or other natural disaster. The injuries didn't make sense, and neither did the group's behavior. Why did they flee their tent in such a state of panic? Why were they scattered so far apart, as if running from something invisible? And what could have caused those catastrophic injuries without leaving external damage? Theories began to swirl, each one more bizarre than the last. Some believed they were victims of secret military experiments. Perhaps they stumbled upon something classified, like sound weapons or chemical testing. Others claimed they were attacked by a Yeti, the legendary snow creature said to roam the Ural Mountains. Another theory suggested that rare natural phenomena, like infrasound waves, might have triggered a state of paranoia and panic, causing them to flee irrationally. But none of these theories fully explain what happened. The tent slashed from the inside, the scattered footprints, the gruesome injuries. All of it points to something that defies logic. Even after more than 60 years, the Dyatlov Pass Incident remains one of the most chilling and unexplained mysteries in modern history. And every time you hear this story, it makes you think twice about venturing into the unknown, doesn't it? Because out there, in the heart of the wilderness, there are things waiting that no one can explain and no one can survive.